So, there is no name for it. It is a bread and butter pudding. Sounds terribly boring, and most of you are going, ugh, this is not just any bread and butter pudding. This is pistachio, panettone, and Bailey's Irish liqueur cream panettone with chocolate chips and hazelnuts. That doesn't sound altogether that bad now, does it? So, what you need for this recipe is, you need a panettone, or some slices of panettone. Or if you don't have panettone, you can use brioche bread, or you can just use your normal sliced bread that you use. Of course you need some, oh, go on, it's Christmas, Bailey's Irish cream. You need 3 eggs. You need the zest of 1 mandarin, tangerine, easy peeler. So basically a small orange, because it's got that lovely orangey flavour. And 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. You need 50 grams of chopped hazelnuts, which you know what I do with my nuts. I toast them on the pan. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? You need 100 mils of double cream, 175 mils of whole milk. You need some softened butter just to butter your bread. You need 100 grams of dark chocolate chips or grated chocolate, and you need 50 grams of caster sugar. You need a whisk, you need a bowl for your custard, and you need your Pyrex dish for preparing, cooking, and serving it. And we'll put some nice fresh holly on the top to make it look pretty, because we're not going to serve it. We need to be able to cut it into nice squares. So, let's get started. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare the panettone. So I'm going to open my box. You can get chocolate chip panettone, you can get plain, you can get, this is actually pistachio. You can get any different variety you like. Okay, so I'm just slicing through my panettone, and then I'm going to butter each slice, and then I'm going to cut it and arrange it in my dish. So, move that to the side. Get my butter. Be generous with your butter. And give it a good buttering. Okay, you can see the lovely green pistachio on my knife from the panettone. And then you just arrange your slices in your dish like so. This is going to be a stunning dessert. People are going to think you spent days making this. The flavour is just unbelievable. I have to say I'm a fan of bread and butter pudding, and I haven't met anybody yet who isn't. Not when I've served it anyway. Okay, so we've layered up our panettone in our dish like so, buttered. Okay, you don't have to worry too much about its appearance. Into our bowl to make our custard now, we're going to add our cinnamon and our orange zest. That's all going to go in there. Make sure you get all of that lovely orange zest in there. And that cinnamon smells lovely. Our 3 eggs. And remember what I said to you before, we're going to crack them into our dish first. Okay, that one looks good. Good. And good. Okay, so that's our 3 eggs in there. We're going to add in our cream and our milk. I'm just going to add the milk into the cream jug to make sure we get all that lovely. Okay. And we're going to add in our sugar. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get our chopped nuts, and we're going to sprinkle our chopped nuts all over our panettone, down in the little crevices, over the nooks and crannies. So everybody's going to get a bit of wonderful hazelnut nuttiness. And the same with our chocolate chips, getting into all the grooves so everybody gets a little bit of chocolate. Chocolate and Bailey's is wonderful. I often find myself sitting having a glass of Bailey's and a square of chocolate at Christmas time, and no harm was done to anyone. That is basically that ready. I have got my ingredients in here. The only thing that's missing out of this bowl is the one most important ingredient. And yes, I hear you say, where is it? it is the Baileys. Okay, so we need 100 mils of Baileys. And this is 700 mils. That's good. There's 600 mils left for me. Let's have a little drink. It's Christmas, Scooter. Right, so 100 mils of Baileys going in. And don't worry if you go slightly. There's no alcohol police around to worry about it. And that's going into your custard mix. So just make sure that your eggs are well incorporated.
And how's Peggy getting on at the chateau?
Got no idea. We haven't heard anything. We've heard of her arrival, so we know she's there, but we haven't heard any more information about her, so we shall wait to see. Okay, so now we're going to get our dish ready. Oh, look at that. There's a little drop of Baileys in there. We must get that out. Mustn't let that go to waste. Okay, and now we're going to literally pour our custard over the top. Now, this is good if you allow it to absorb and soak in, you know, for at least an hour before it goes into the oven. But I would preferably leave it in the fridge overnight. And then bake it off the next day. I mean, you will have had your oven on to do your turkey and your ham and everything. So, you know, there's no reason why. Okay, so just cover that in cling film. Leave it in your fridge for 24 hours or leave it for at least 2 hours and then you can pop it in the oven. You can then warm it up for about 20 minutes in the oven and it's really, really nice served with some whipped cream with a little bit of Baileys folded through it, or custard, or ice cream, or whatever you fancy. So it smells amazing. Absolutely unbelievable. The orange, the chocolate, the Baileys, it really, really does smell lovely. Okay, and then when you're ready to cook it, it needs to go into an oven which is 160 fan, 180 Celsius, or gas mark 4. Okay? And enjoy. Okay, so that has been in the fridge overnight. I've taken the cling film off and now I'm going to pop it into the oven and it will take 35 to 40 minutes in your oven. Okay? And now to try that delectable bread and butter pudding with Baileys and chocolate chips. And everybody, it's not that long out of the oven and it's just set. And I'm going to serve it with a delicious blob of Baileys whipped fresh cream. Look at that. And you may have as much cream or as little cream as you like. Sorry, Chris, you'll have to wait for yours because I want to tuck in first of all. Oh, so you've got that lovely chocolatey. It smells divine. And the nuttiness from the hazelnuts. Oh my God. In fact, you don't even call this bread and butter pudding because it sounds far too common a name for this. I'll have to think of a name. So folks, please do try this. It's utterly amazing. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video of decorating our beautiful fireplace for the kiddies for Christmas. It brings out the little boy in me. So, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you very soon for another video. So from Nikolai, Chris and the adorable Scooter, who's on his holidays from Peggy, we wish you the very best. See you soon. My God. Turn it off, Chris, so I can carry on eating. Okay, you guys, so now on with that delicious red velvet cake, which I have to confess, I have made a sin. I have acted as a sinner, but I am prepared. For my sin, I have a candle, to which I will light, in the hope that my sins will all be forgiven. Sorry, Peggy. We will light this in memory of us. Okay, my sin is, I have decided that round this red velvet cake, I am going to do some decoration. And the decoration I'm going to do is some desiccated coconut, which I have literally put a few drops of red food colour. So the biggest sin of all is, Scooter has informed me that Peggy is not a lover of coconut. So, oops. Sorry about that, dear. Confessions later. Okay, and that's how the coconut has turned out. So it's really pretty. And that's just another element. Okay, so for the cake, what you will need is your tin of choice. You can do 2 round sandwich tins and you can use some of the frosting to sandwich it together. I'm using my bundt tin because I think for people trying out a recipe for the first time, which is also me for this one, it just makes life easier. So I'm using my bundt tin, which I have oiled and floured, and that's ready to go. Then you will need your whisk, an electric mixer. You will need a sieve, a spatula, and for your ingredients, you will need half a cup or 115 grams of butter, 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, 180 grams of plain flour, 250 grams of caster sugar or normal sugar, 3 large eggs which I've lightly beaten, 125 ml of buttermilk, 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla bean extract. You will also need some red food colouring. I'm using good old red food colouring, but you choose whatever food colouring you can get your hands on. I'm probably going to use about 2 teaspoons of that in the mix, but I will judge it from the colour, how it looks. I may add a little bit more. And then you will need half a teaspoon of white vinegar. And I just singed the hair on my hand from Peggy's candle. Okay, and then you also need a teaspoon of salt, which I've added to the flour because that's going to be sieved in with the flour. And then we will use 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda or bicarbonate of soda. And what we'll do is we will add that to the vinegar at the end of the mix so that it reacts and fizzes up. And that's what will help this cake to rise. Okay, your oven temperatures are, your Fahrenheit is 355, your fan assisted is 160, and your gas mark is 4. And you're going to bake it for about 1 hour and 20 minutes, depending on the tin that you use. Definitely for me it will be 1 hour and 20 minutes because you've got the depth in the tin, or if you're using a 2-pound loaf tin it will be similar. If you're using the 9-inch sandwich pans to sandwich it together, you'll probably reduce that to maybe 50 minutes, I would imagine, but I'm not 100% sure. But you know to test it by sticking your skewer in. So let's get on with mixing. Okay, so make sure your butter is nice and soft, and you just want to mix that together. And you're going to add into that your sugar. All in there. And you're going to give that a beat till it's nice and pale and fluffy. So it'll take 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so after about 5 minutes of mixing, I'm going to start adding in my egg slowly, just to help loosen up the mixture. And then you just beat them in until they're fully incorporated into the mix. Okay, so now I'm going to start sifting in my flour and salt and cocoa powder. And I'm just going to do this in a few stages so as not to add it all together. Okay, so you want to just incorporate your flour and cocoa powder. And then you're going to add a little bit of your buttermilk. So this is in succession, some dry ingredients and some wet ingredients. And don't forget to have a little scrape down of the sides of the bowl each addition as well to make sure that everything gets incorporated. Now, I'm going to tell you this cake is super easy because actually it is super easy. However, I've never made it before, so I have really got no right to tell you that. But sure, look, we'll keep going. And I think we'll just leave one more little bit to add at the end. Remember, don't put your mixer on full speed when you're adding cocoa powder and flour to your wet ingredients because you will end up with a cloud, just like I am, of dust everywhere. And you don't want that. I'm going to add a little bit more buttermilk. Okay, so now I'm going to do my 3/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I will do my red food colouring as well. So I think I'm going to use 2 teaspoons. Okay, so I've added 2.5 teaspoons of the red food coloring because I felt it needed to be a little bit darker in red. So now I'm going to add the vinegar to the bicarbonate of soda. Okay, so we want our 1/2 teaspoon of white vinegar. Okay, and that's going in, and that will foam up. And you can see that's foaming up now. And that's going to go straight in. Okay, and that's going to act as our raising agent for our cake. So, let's put that there. And get that mixed in. And then Chris, you can come and have a look closely in the bowl to see the desired red I like, but you can choose however deep or however light you want it to be. And that's more or less it. That's going to go now into our bun pan and into the oven. And obviously, as I said, I haven't made this cake before. Next time I'm making this cake, and by the looks of it, I probably will be making it again very often, I will wear gloves because my fingers are now pink. So wear gloves for adding your food colouring stage. Well, from the food colouring stage, I would suggest. So now this is going into our bun pan. And then straight into a preheated oven. And pink everywhere. Okay, now that we've cleared up a little bit and the red velvet cake is in the oven, I want to do the frosting with you. Now, my judgment, and I could be very wrong, but my judgment is the recipe from the book indicates not enough frosting. Please don't kill me, Martha Stewart. But anyway, so I've doubled up on the frosting. You can choose when you see my cake whether you want to double up or whether you don't. So the recipe in the book states for 115 grams of cream cheese, which I have used 230. Okay, and that's going in to this bowl. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give that a light mix to break it up. And hopefully this won't turn pink because... Okay, and then you're going to add to that a 1/2 cup or 100 grams of icing sugar. So I've used a cup, 200 grams of icing sugar, and it's sieved already. Okay, very important to sieve your icing sugar because, believe it or not, and I've said it before, it really is awful if you eat a delicious piece of cake and all of a sudden you've got like a sandy, gritty bit in between your teeth. Not very nice at all. Okay, so we'll get that mixed up. Very, very low speed here because you don't want your icing sugar to go all over the place. So I'm going to do it in little bits and pieces till I incorporate it, and then I can turn it on full to get it all incorporated properly. Okay, so judging from this, definitely I think I'm right about the quantities. We needed double. What's a little bit extra cream cheese and icing sugar or confectioner's sugar amongst friends, I hear you say. Better to have too much than not enough. Okay, you guys, the smell is amazing. The cake is out of the oven. It's cooled, completely cold, and now I'm going to get on with frosting it. So I'm literally just going to apply my frosting and then spread it out afterwards. Top, sides, all of the cake. And this frosting is nice and soft, so it's quite easy to work with at the moment. Now, you don't have to be fussy about doing this. You just put it on however best you can. Because let's face it, none of us are Martha Stewart, are we now? Going to use my scraper just to smooth around the sides. now for my favourite part, the delicious coconut. And we're just going to pop that on with our thing just round the bottom. Now please, for those of you I hear screaming at the camera that red velvet cake does not have coconut, I know it doesn't, and Martha Stewart didn't put coconut in hers, but I, for a very specific reason, am using coconut in mine. And just omit the coconut if you don't want it. But I just think it's going to add a nice, fun, bright, colourful layer to our red velvet cake. And you just pop that on however you so wish. And we're going to end up. So on our walk we gathered some little snowdrops, myself and Scooter. Oh, they smell amazing, the snowdrops. I didn't think snowdrops smelt, but they do. Now we've just turned a very ordinary cake into a delicious celebration cake, and I'm going to add just a little bit of silver glitter, just to add a little bit of shimmer and sparkle. Thank you very much for joining me on this eventful day, and don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you very soon for another video. Take care, my friends.